Hey, this is Dawson from where you can watch, learn, and fly. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to A License. In today's video, we're going to be going over exit order. If you're new here, we'd love for you to join the team by subscribing to the channel. Leave us your questions and comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please let us know by smashing that like button. So welcome to the gear counter. Now considering we're going to be using this to skydive, we need to make sure that it's working properly. All right, so welcome back to the classroom. First order of business, what is exit order? Well, the exit order simply means the different order in which the different groups of skydivers are to exit the airplane. Now, today we have big planes, which means that we can fit a lot of different people in there. And we also have a whole bunch of different disciplines in skydiving. That means that we're gonna have a whole bunch of different groups falling at a whole bunch of different speeds. And the reason that we have an exit order is to make sure that there's enough distance between each group so that they can all open their parachutes safely. The last thing we want when we're skydiving is to have different groups opening up close to each other. And that's why we have an exit order. So now that we know what exit order is, now we need to figure out how we establish exit order and what affects exit order. Well, there are three key components that we have to take into consideration when determining exit order. First is drift and group size. Second is free fall speeds. And third is opening altitudes. Now, the concept of drift simply means how much a group is going to move horizontally during the course of their free fall. Now, it's important to note that we have winds at free fall speeds, and those winds are gonna move us even if we're just falling straight down. And the bigger the group size, the more that wind is gonna push that group on an horizontal scale. So the bigger the group, the further they're gonna move horizontally. The smaller the group, the less they're gonna move horizontally. Now, in addition to group size, we also have discipline. If we're falling on our bellies, which means we have a lot of surface area, we're gonna be falling slower. But the more vertical we start falling, the quicker we're gonna be falling. That means that if two groups, a belly group and a vertical group, jump out of the plane at the same time, the vertical group is gonna get to their opening altitude faster than the belly group. And what that means, again, the more time you spend in the air, the more time you're gonna be drifted. So that's the second factor to take into account. And the third factor is opening altitude. The higher up you open, the less time you're gonna be in the air. The lower you open, the more time you're gonna be in the air. However, if you're opening up high, we don't wanna be jumping before people that are gonna be opening up low, because that means we're gonna have people free falling past you under canopy. Instead, the people who open the lowest, we want them to go out first, and the people that open the highest, we want them to go out last. All right, so now that we kind of understand what exit order is and the different components that factor into it, we need to actually establish the exit order and the order that people are jumping out of the plane. Now, an important note, exit order is again, people jumping out of the plane. So when we have to load the plane or get into the plane, it's gonna be backwards, which means the last people to jump out of the plane are the first to go in, and the first to jump out of the plane are the last to go in. We're gonna list off the different types of groups that we're gonna have, and then we're gonna place them in order. Now, we're never gonna have all of these groups because we don't have enough room in the plane to fit all of those people. Instead, this is just a basic guideline of how we should be doing an exit order. The first people to jump out are people who are doing low passes or hop and pops. That means these guys are pretty much gonna jump out of the plane, they're gonna pull their parachute, and they're only exiting around 5,000 feet. Those guys, we don't need to worry about them too much compared to all the other groups that are in the plane that are all gonna be jumping at altitude. When we do hop and hops, there is still an order. We wanna make sure the people with the smallest canopies and the highest wing loading jump out first, and they're gonna take the longest delay. That means they're gonna wait the longest before they pull their parachute. And the people with the biggest parachute and the lightest wing loading, they're gonna jump out last, and they're gonna take the shortest delay, which means they're gonna pull the quickest compared to the others. All right, so now that we're at full altitude, we need to make sure that we determine the right exit order. The first things first is that we need to determine if there's movement groups. Movement groups means tracking or angle. If there's more than one, we want to make sure that we separate them so we have one in the beginning and one in the end. So next, we have to look at our belly jumpers. We want to have our largest belly groups going out first, and we want to move down in size to the smallest belly groups. Then we're going to look at our free fly or vertical groups. The same concept applies. We want our largest vertical groups to go out first, and then we want to move down in size to the smallest free fly groups. After that, we're going to have our students, because they're going to open up higher than everybody else. If we have that second movement group, they can go out now. After them, we're going to have our tandems, and then lastly, we're going to have our wingsuit or tracking suit jumpers, and they're going to be out last because not only are they opening up higher, but they can cover much more horizontal distance. That means that even though the plane is going to keep going further and further away from the drop zone, they are still going to have the ability to fly and make it all the way back. This isn't as common of a jump, but we want to also take into consideration people who are doing high pulls. That means that they're going to jump out of the plane and open their parachutes right away. All right, folks, there you have it. That's how we establish our exit order. Now remember, we're never going to have all of these groups jumping out at once, but this is just a guide on how we establish the exit order for the people that are actually jumping out of the plane. All right, and that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you're enjoying this series so far. So as you can see behind me, we got a whole bunch of tandems that are coming up. So exit order is pretty simple. I'm getting out low, which means I get to go out first, and then the rest of the tandems are going to be going out. Don't forget, you can always click the link in the description below to check out the full article. We'll see you guys next time. Blue skies.